Hello everyone, today's poem is 丽人行 by 杜甫. So this poem is about the April festivals in the Tang dynasty. So in the lunar calendar, it was so-called 3月3. That was clearly pointed out in the first sentence. 3月3日天气新 is one of the two origins of the Qingming festival, which is get more popular after the Song dynasty. And through this poem, we can see at the peak time how the Tang dynasty looks like, especially how the noble people looks like and how their daily life it is. And just 2 years later, the civil war, 安史之乱 broke out. 安史之乱, the civil war of the Tang dynasty, was considered to be the watershed of the Tang dynasty. And more people think that could be the watershed of the Chinese history. And after that, the country, the culture, even though it evolves in some sense, but basically it never reached the peak hours like the Tang dynasty. So this poem became a very vivid evidence of the peak hours or the peak time of the Tang dynasty, even the peak time of the Chinese history. As till today, not much materials through the archaeology of the Tang dynasty was so found. So it's get very hard for today's people to imagine how the real life of the Tang dynasty it is, and how the people's behavior and their thoughts is, especially the daily life looks like. And even something was through the archaeology or through some of the history books was found over time, but most of them are not about the daily life. And this one is the poem himself, 杜甫. Normally he was considered the one who writes some of the bitter poems, but this one is totally different. It depicts the wonderful moments of the festivals and the people, the noble peoples, of course, as well. Went to the suburb, 踏青. So that's one of the things in this 3月3 festival the people's do's, and people have picnics at the wild. The place is very famous place, was so-called Qujiang, and a little bit south to the Wild Goose Pagoda, which was a Buddhist tower left from the Tang dynasty. And Qujiang was a big pond, a big lake, so people dining along the lake, and tour around and sing poems, sing songs, play games, flying the kite, take baths. So basically that's the first festival after long cold winter, and the world became green again. 3月3, the festival could be originated in a very early stage, but nobody can tell exactly what time it started. And in sometimes it was so-called 上巳节, one of the Daism festivals. And very curiously, after the Tang dynasty, this festival faded, so it converged into the Qingming festival for the Chinese peoples, and very funny, this festival was still alive today in some of the minority ethnic race in the southwest China. So basically, the festival is the same thing: dining, drinking, play games, and one in the North Dynasty. Once this festival is very, very elegant, especially for the intellectual peoples. There's a game for the intellectual people, the scholars especially, called 曲水流觞. So that means the peoples, the intellectuals, they gather together. 10 people, 20 people that gather together, sit alongside a small creek, and they put a glass of wine in the small creek, so it follows the water to float, and they play the game. And when the game stops, the glass is in front of one people, so he should write a poem and drink the wine. 曲水流觞. So that habit was kept among a small group of intellectual group or scholars until a late time, even in the Qing dynasty, 曲水流觞. So they still do sort of the things, but for the average Chinese people, 3月3, or the March 3rd festival, ceased after Tang dynasty. Someone even thought this could be treated as the carnival festival of the Chinese. Okay, let's have a look at this very colorful and luxurious poem by Du Fu, not like the typical poems of Du Fu at all. 丽人行，杜甫。3月3日天气新，长安水边多丽人。态浓意远，疏且真，肌理细腻，骨肉匀。绣罗衣上照暮春，簇金孔雀银麒麟。头上何所有？翠微荷叶垂鬓唇。背后何所见？朱鸦腰髻稳衬身。旧中云木交房亲，赐名大国国于秦。紫驼之峰出翠府，水晶之盘行素林。西柱燕玉久未下，鸾刀屡切空分轮。黄门飞控不动尘，玉厨落意送八珍。箫鼓哀吟赶鬼神，宾从杂沓食药精。后来鞍马何逡巡，当轩下马入锦阴。杨花雪落覆白屏，青鸟飞去衔红巾。炙手可热是绝伦，慎莫近前丞相称。Wow, such a long poem and so many new words, even for today's Chinese as well. Anyhow, no worry. The poem was written in a very plain and easy daily language. The only difficulty is the articles are not familiar for today's people. So as far as we know, the things, articles, or the dishes name, what the dish is about, the decorations, the jewelry is about. So it's quite easy for today's people to know what the situation is and what the poem is about. And this poem we can separate it to several paragraphs. So this would much help to understand of this poem. The first paragraph is 3月3日天气新，长安水边多丽人。态浓意远书且真，肌理细腻骨肉匀。绣罗衣上照暮春，簇金孔雀迎麒麟. So this is a very general description of the scenario, the Qujiang actually. He didn't mention that, but everybody know it's about the place of Qujiang. That's where the royal families or the noble people or the upper level people went for in the festival of March 3rd. So this paragraph is a very general description of the place and what do you see at a first glance. 3月3日天气新 The March 3rd festival, the weather is great. 新 it implies the spring is just booming. Everything's booming. And also the air is so fresh, clean. It's new air. So that means 新 长安水边多丽人. So this here is also implies a place, Qujiang. The 水边, at the riverside, at the lakeside of the capital city, Chang'an city. There's so many beauties, 多丽人, so many beauties. So this pairs of sentences is quite often quoted when even today's people talking about the most prosperous time or the peak hours of the Tang time. So also that's the most famous sentences about the March 3rd festival. 态浓意远书且真，肌理细腻骨肉匀。态 gesture or the attitude. So the magic of the Chinese word characters is one single character normally has several meanings. So when you using these single characters to compose a poem, so this makes the poem is a little bit hard to explain the meanings or the right meanings, because it doesn't have right meanings, because a lot of the characters could be explained in many ways. And the upper side of this multi-meaning words is it gives a lot of aspects through a very few words. So that's the hard part when reading the poems, and that's also the beauty of the poem, because the poem is indirect, it's mysterious, and has a rhythm to when you read it. So that's all the most important factors of a good poem. So in this sentence, there's two characters has multi-meanings. So how the meanings apply to this specific situation is up to you. So I just tell you the multi-meanings. One is 态. 态 is gesture. It also could be explained as attitude or status of something. The other word is 书. 书, firstly, it refers to the water, crystal clear, very clear, crystal clear. And then it refers the gentle, kind-hearted. That's for the personality of a person. And then it can also refers to a very beautiful woman. The beautiful, the meaning is very beautiful. So here, 太浓意远疏且真. In my explanation, 太 has many aspects. 浓 is very thick, very heavy. So this refers to the outlook and the gestures and the very colorful clothing or the decorations that is very heavy, very thick. 意远, yi is mind, thinking. 远 is distance. This is refers to their thoughts is broad, is to the distance, which means they are very self-sufficient. They have the pursuit to the long goal. 疏且真, 疏 you can refer to the kind-hearted woman or a beautiful woman. 且 as well means as well. 真 is true. True is there's also could be explained two many ways. 真 is true means the honesty. It looks very honesty with innocent outlookings, and all is very clear. 疏且真. So their face is very clear, very not vague. And so this short sentences has so many aspects, but it only refers all these aspects is from one beautiful woman or a group of beautiful women along the lakeside. 肌理细腻骨肉匀. And then it further describe how the beauties looks like. 肌理, the muscles and skins, is very fine and very 腻 is a little bit Chinese descriptions. It's normally the fat meat, which is 腻. So that depicts 细腻 depicts the characteristics of the muscle and the skins. 骨肉匀, 骨 the bone and flesh. 匀 is fit, or it not only fit, it's more like the well balanced. So the bone and flesh is well balanced. So it's all the typical Chinese descriptions for a beauty or for gestures or for the decorations or whatever. 绣罗衣上照暮春, 促金孔雀迎麒麟. So they further depicts the clothing, the colorful and luxurious clothing. 绣罗衣上, the clothes shines or the shadow the late spring. 暮春 is late spring. 绣罗, which means the clothes was embroidered with gold and silver threads, and which makes the figure of 促金孔雀, the golden peacock. So the peacock normally the Chinese treat it as the king of the birds, the most noble and most beautiful birds. 银麒麟, the silver 麒麟. So 麒麟cannot be translated in English. It refers to an animal that could never existed, but the figure looks like a lion, and with horns on the head, and with the skins like the fish skin. So that could be existing sometime in the very, very ancient time, but there's no evidence so far. That's one of the figures, but this figures appears in all kinds of the things, the clothing, the vessels in the ancient China. So the peacock and qilin is the most noble and animals, and represents good fortune and noble. So in the first paragraph, 3 pair of sentences, we know it's the March 3rd festival, and in the capital city, at the Qujiang lake, lakeside, there's so many beauties, a crowd of beauties, and then Du Fu, the poet, go to the details, how the beauties looks like, and how from a little bit distance, and then he goes more detailed descriptions on the clothings, because the clothes, the luxurious, colorful clothes, not only reflect the atmosphere of the festival, but also reflects the person, the nobility of the person. Okay, that's for today, and I will continue to explain this poem in the next video. Bye bye.